And I look at the message and I'm like, wait a minute. This message, excuse me, what? Hey everyone, so I'm back with a new video today, and it's gonna be something a little bit different from what I usually do. I've done story times in the past and everything, but this is something that happened to me 2 years ago that I wanted to bring up now, just because I had someone leave me a comment the other day about how my confidence has really gotten a lot better and how they were like jealous of how I kind of, you know, came up or had like a glow up this past couple of years. And it was mostly because of this experience. It made me a lot stronger and able to kind of stand up for myself more and just, I don't know, feel better about life in general and, you know, really accomplish things on my own. Yeah, this story time is mostly about a toxic boss that I had a while ago. And I'm gonna be talking about mostly mental health and why it's okay to leave a toxic job or someone that's making you feel like your mental health is deteriorating. You have to see yourself as important enough to be able to leave a situation like that and not feel like you have to stay. I know that there are some circumstances where you may feel like you have to, but in this case, I'm gonna let you guys just give you a little bit of insight of my situation and we'll just talk about it. I also wrote down some talking points because there's a lot of stuff that happened. I also wanted to give you guys a disclaimer that this is not a bashing video. I will not be giving out names, the type of job that I did. I'm not gonna be giving you guys any details with that because I'm still friends with a lot of the people that work there or that used to work there. No names, no location, nothing. So I'm also gonna be doing my makeup in this video as well. I also did my nails, but I'll be doing a full face of just whatever I want to do, honestly, for this. I don't really have anything set in mind. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first talking point, basically, I'm gonna just kind of go into how this started. So I met some really good friends of mine at a party, and they wanted me to work for them. So initially I was really excited because I felt like that, okay, I met these people, I know who they are, I know them, and I'll be able to, you know, work with people that are like-minded like me and that are really nice. I think it's really important to always work in a healthy work environment because even if your job is not as exciting as you'd want it to be or you're not as, you know, into it, I think that if you work with really good people, that can change everything and it can just make your job a lot more fun and, you know, relaxing. But turns out I had to work with another boss that I did not. Initially, she was okay, but I could tell that I was being treated differently from everyone else that was applying for the job and that was, you know, going to be working with me. She was one of those people that really protected their own. And I know lots of people do that. I totally understand that. I get where it comes from. But at the same time, it was such a drastic difference. And it wasn't just me that was being treated like this. You know, if I wasn't that race, it was other people within the team that was going through what I was going through as well. So yes, it wasn't just me, but I was the only Black person that worked there, of course. But yeah, I'll get into more of that later. But I think that race also played a big, you know, issue in this whole thing. But yeah, there were just a few red flags that I kind of got from her. For me, I really do go off of vibes and I try my best to not really read too much into them. So I kind of let that go. In the beginning, I was like, you know what? I need to stop thinking that way and just, you know, go with this. And she may not actually be feeling like that, how I'm thinking. I started working there for a couple of weeks or so. And I started finding myself kind of taking on more tasks. Basically, my job started off with me just booking clients, right? So in the end, I was given more work for not only booking clients, but handling all of their social media, which I gotta tell you guys right now, that's one job on its own. I feel like if you're given a job like that, that really takes up your entire day. Social media is no joke. So I had that job as well. And even on my off days, I still had to book clients. I still had to talk to clients and my phone was blowing up all of the time. So I got to a point where I had anxiety just picking up my phone and looking at it because I felt like, oh, I probably messed something up, or a client was trying to reach me and I couldn't get to them fast enough. And so stuff like that would happen, honestly, daily. I worked at least 5 days a week, 12-hour shifts. In the very beginning, no one told me like my hours, so I just assumed that they'd be in like 9 to 5 work hours, right? So I left, I think, at around 6 o'clock, and me figuring, because my work was finished at that point in time, that I would be okay. So me working this shift every day, like no one told me different. But turns out a week later, she was telling people that she thought that I was leaving way too early. And she never had told me this personally. And so I had to hear from other people. And so it got me kind of confused because I was like, okay, I don't know what this lady is thinking. I don't know if she thinks that I'm a lazy person or that I don't want to be there, but that wasn't the case at all. So I started staying longer and she felt better about that. But I had to talk to her. I had to be like, well, you never told me specific hours. And it's so funny because like when I told her this information, she almost looked surprised and she kind of had a smirk on her face in a way where she knew that someone had told me that, you know, when she was talking smack, basically. And so that was like the first inclination that I got that, okay, this lady is not all the way there. And hopefully if she has any issues with me in the future, she'll bring them to my attention and not tell other people that are working there because it didn't make any sense. And keep in mind, she was the boss of the entire place, or she co-owned the entire place. But honestly, she handled the business and everything. Also, that my commute would be 45 minutes to an hour long in the morning because obviously this location was like pretty far away from me. So I had to definitely handle that commute as well as work those 12-hour shifts. And I was okay with doing that, but also like my work pretty much ended at around from 6 to 7 p.m. It got to a point where I didn't really mind it anymore that I was just there because it was a pretty comfortable spot. So I didn't really care. The times where I mostly cared was when she was around because it just made me feel like I was walking on eggshells and I was really nervous all the time because, you know, I didn't know what she was thinking basically. And this lady was, you know, let's just get into how she treated her clients. So there were points of the day where she would just get really upset with her clients and stuff. I guess if they didn't like her work or whatever, or they had a problem with something, she would talk about their weight. She would talk about how they looked. Mostly she would talk about their weight. Like I heard her just calling clients like fat and ugly and all this stuff. And I'm just sitting here like, wow, these people are paying you, right? They're paying you for your services. They're working with you probably every week to 2 weeks and you are calling them fat, ugly, bad-mouthing them, calling them crazy behind their back and they don't even know. And so it kind of made me nervous because I'm just like, if she talks about her own clients this way, how does she talk about me? Because I know she doesn't like me, you know what I'm saying? But I heard some things basically, like there was one point in time, I've never been called this in my entire life, but she had talked to 2 of the coworkers and she ended up calling me lazy. And this was, I think, my 2nd week of work. And I kid you not, I ended up crying on that day. Everyone had left the establishment and I was just in tears because I felt like I had failed. And if my boss thinks this way and she thinks that I'm lazy, then I don't even deserve this job. Like I was honestly ready to quit because I felt like I was doing something terrible. But anyways, I really thought that I was the problem and that I, you know, was just stupid and I couldn't handle anything and I kept messing up and stuff. But basically this whole thing was mostly because there was a bunch of work that was being piled up on me. Basically, I'd be given a new task every single day, basically accomplish that task every single day and continue it out throughout my whole time working there. So I was just giving a bunch of these new random jobs and I wasn't getting a raise. I still had to do the commute and I still had to work 5 days a week. And even on my days off, I was still working. So honestly, during that time, I think, and the scary part is that I didn't even know that I was really depressed. I had no clue on how I was feeling. I just knew that 90% of the time I didn't feel good and I felt anxious all the time as well. Like that job made me feel on edge, probably 24 hours of the day. Even if I went to the movies or something on my day off, I would dread looking at my phone and I couldn't handle it basically. Like it was really, really bad. It was a really bad experience. So yeah, that was my first thing. I got really upset because I heard her talking badly about me to other coworkers, which I think is very unprofessional. If you are a boss and you're telling the employees about another employee that you don't like, I don't think that that's a good, you know, exchange at all. It's very unprofessional. But you know, I want to also jump in and just say that this was a new business, extremely new business. They had not been open for a very long time. Just keep in mind, you guys, when you are working for someone that hasn't had experience in this field before and it's their first time doing this, you will come across these types of problems where there's unprofessionalism, there's people not knowing what they're doing. No one knows what they're doing. They're just running around and they're just trying to figure out a solution on certain things. And then they will find someone who they think is weak to blame. I think in this situation, I was seen as a very weak person. And, I've come out of this whole thing basically not wanting people to think that way about me ever again. And even if it does happen, I have to let them know I'm not the one to mess with. And that made me a stronger person, from that experience. I remember there were certain days where we were looking for people to comp basically at the establishment who had bigger numbers and stuff. And I remember she would look at people that had 50,000 subscribers or people that had 100K, and she would talk about how 50K was not enough people and that how they're not that popular and stuff. And it was in a way where it'd be very condescending. And meanwhile, I'm on social media still. And I think I only had 15,000 subscribers at the time, maybe 10,000. I'm not even sure how many I had. But it would make me feel like I wasn't doing enough on social media and that my social media basically sucked. And so there'd be conversations like that. So I remember there'd be certain situations where she would bring everyone around and we would look at people's social blades. Because keep in mind, guys, this was an establishment where people cared about that type of stuff. So we would look at people's YouTube channels, their Instagrams, everything. I remember one instance where, and keep in mind, this whole time I'm just nervous because I don't want anyone looking at my page. And she looked at my Instagram, and I remember her just saying you're not growing, you need to do this more, you're not doing this enough. And I felt so bad in that moment when she had said those things about my Instagram, because I wasn't growing at the time. I wasn't really posting that much. I was honestly focusing on work. So anything that I was doing before on social media, before this job, I couldn't really focus on as much because my life pretty much was about this job. I couldn't do anything else. I was doing this job full time. But anyways, again, this was a new business. So looking back at it now, I'm not really surprised at that. But yeah, so that really kind of hurt me a bit. And I'll talk about this again towards the end of this video about how I'm handling it now and how the tables have pretty much turned. There were things that were happening at the business that she kind of put me in charge of to hide certain things, because certain things that she was doing at the establishment or wanted to do at the establishment were not allowed. I'm not going to get into that, but basically I was told to hide certain things, do a lot of dishonest crap in that place for personal gain. Not even for my gain, but for her gain, because she thought it was the right thing to do for the business. And I heavily do not agree with that. But that's what I had to take part in, and I was not okay with it, because here's the thing about that type of stuff. If you guys ever get asked to do something like that, first of all, you don't have to do that if you don't want to, because in the future you could possibly be sued, you could get in trouble, you could really get yourself into some deep stuff. They're asking you to do these things and you know that they're not okay, they're not morally right, and because they're your boss, you feel like you have to. But I'm gonna say right now, don't do it, because it's not okay. I had to even on multiple occasions lock the main front door because there were health inspectors coming in and they didn't want that. I've never been in a position where I've had to do something like that at a job before. It's just so unprofessional. It's mind-boggling. And going back into this, yeah, I feel like that was putting me personally at risk. I don't know what could have happened because I'm the one doing these actions and stuff, or being asked to do these things. I'm just a secretary. Couldn't even tell you to this day, honestly, because there were so many things being piled up on my job and no one else wanted to do these things. It ended up becoming impossible, legit impossible. When you're basically putting up a front and saying that you are a professional business and you're holding yourself up to high standards, this the word that was being used the whole time that I was working there was high standards. And yet you can't even have a health inspector come into your business. Excuse me? What? That makes no sense to me. Want to act like you're this high classy business. Asking someone like me to do that, I just felt like I was doing something completely wrong. I did not feel good about doing that at all. And I was always on the lookout and stuff, and the pressure was always on me so that they wouldn't basically get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So that was just an issue for me personally. One other thing that I didn't like was that in certain situations, my boss, she would use my name while talking to clients. So say if because basically everyone can see these messages that are going on from me to the clients and stuff, she would jump in and she would write things to the clients under my name whenever there was an issue. Can you imagine if she had said something really off the wall and then I got in trouble for this situation? Maybe I got sued or something, or something could have gone down. Basically, I'm just saying, like, anything could have happened. You know, you can't be too safe, basically. So yeah, she was talking under my name. Like, what if she did something crazy and then I got in trouble for that? Excuse me? You know, people were telling me that knew that this was going on to tell her to stop. And I don't even know if I ever did. I don't remember how I honestly handled this. I feel like someone else had to tell her for me because it just wasn't okay to do. And you shouldn't have to tell somebody that, especially a grown woman, a grown adult. You shouldn't have to tell anyone to do that. So I remember there was one situation where she had used my name while she was talking to a client and she had made a mistake, right? And so she forgets this information. She forgets that she messaged the client and I did not, right? And she messages me saying, Tima, you did this wrong. You told the client this, right? And I look at the message and I'm like, wait a minute. This message is written in broken English, because keep in mind, her English was not the best when she was writing stuff down. Like, you could clearly tell if I was the one saying something or if she was the one saying something. It was very, very clear. This made me really upset. So for her to act as me to a client and make a mistake made me look bad. It made me look worse, right? And so I was telling her, that wasn't me. Like, I don't write like that. And so it took her a while to respond to me. And then she was like, oh, I'm sorry, that was me. Same thing with a different situation. She had lost her phone and she was always losing her phone in the establishment. And I remember she had to use my phone to reach her husband because he was doing some work or something at their house. I don't remember what happened. I don't even know why I even told her that she could. It was just because, you know, she's my boss. I can't really say no to that. But she forgot stuff really easily. And I remember her asking me, she was like, and she put her husband's name in my phone, by the way. And then she asked me, she's like, why is blah, blah, blah's number in your phone? And I was like, because you lost your phone and you messaged him from my phone. And then she literally looks at me and she's like, oh, and then she walks away. She didn't even apologize to me. Like, it was the weirdest exchange ever. Like, stuff like this would happen every single day. And there was like sometimes where I was talking about her, so I didn't want her to see the messages. And I was like, ah, crap. Talking to people under my name, and then you're using my phone for other things and stuff like that because you keep losing yours. It was just so stupid. Like, the whole exchange was just dumb. Another thing that happened was, and I definitely want to tell you guys, she was not black. She's not white. I'm not going to give you her actual race though. I don't have to. But there were several occasions where she would say the N-word in my presence and everybody around would be shook. But I was the one that was expected to tell her why it was. Yeah, so I got interrupted. There was something that happened outside. Don't know what it was, but yeah. Anyways, there were several occasions where she would say the N-word in my presence, and I had to be the one to explain to her that it was not okay to say, especially if she's not black. And she kept asking me why, and it was just a really uncomfortable situation that I had to go through. And this was on more than one occasion for me, and I feel like that should not happen, especially when you're at work. And also, there was a point where we had to go to her place for like this group meeting for dinner, and there was a point in the group meeting where her and her husband were making these like African clicking noises and stuff at the table. And they were laughing and they were like, oh, but it's a real thing, so we can do this. Like, that type of thing. Like, there are people out there that do that in Africa, so we can make these sounds and we can laugh because it's funny. You know what I'm saying? And I just remember the entire, like, the rest of the table, like, all the other employees were just looking like they looked uncomfortable. They were like, what the hell is she doing? Her and her husband were asking me why it was not okay to say those things and to act like that, especially with me being at the table. There were also instances where like I'd be at work and like we'd have these like, you know, random talks and stuff just about, I guess about life, just random stuff. Like, these were situations where like I didn't feel as bad talking to her because she seemed like she was trying to get to know me and she was nicer. But I just remember it was like downtime. There weren't many people at the business, so we were able to talk for a bit. And I think one other employee was there and she was just talking to us and telling us where she's traveled and that traveling is boring and stuff, but she's been to places like Miami and like their ghetto and all the other places that she was talking about. She was saying like, oh, this place is nicer because a lot more white people live here. Like, she'd make comments like that. After situations like these, like, that's how I just knew I didn't like working with her, because the negativity was just way too strong. Morally, like, that's just not stuff, like, I don't like talking about stuff like that. I don't like belittling other races and stuff. This is all to say that there was a point in time where I really couldn't take it anymore, and I had to make the decision to leave this job, leave the position, and I wasn't really in the position to leave this job, you guys. For those of you that are wondering or that are asking, oh, well, maybe you were in an okay position to leave and stuff, it would have been smarter, honestly, if I stayed as far as like money went at the time. But it was my mental health. It just got so bad that I had to leave, and I remember I even asked like Kevin if it was okay, like, you know, if it was worth it for my mental health, and he was like, well, if it's something that you really need to do, then I would just leave. I was even okay with me going back to like a retail job, 9 to 5, and working on YouTube instead, rather than going through anything like that again. But what I did right after me leaving was I was gonna take 2 months for myself to see if I could do YouTube for a little bit, and to see if I could, you know, gain a bigger following, so that I could only get maybe like a part-time job here and there, and not have to worry about money as much. I wasn't planning on doing YouTube full-time. It just ended up kind of happening that way. The craziest thing kind of happened. So like during those 2 months after I did leave, my social media grew so much in comparison to whenever I was working there. Even fast forward to now, like whenever I look back at the company's page and stuff that she was managing, my old boss, like my social media is doing way better. And it's so funny because that was the same person that was kind of like making fun of my social media at the time. And I just kind of see it as like the best revenge is your success. You don't have to say or do anything to anybody to get even with them. You just have to do your own thing, work hard, and live a happy life. People hate when you're happy. The people that don't like you, they hate seeing you happy. Like, that's honestly something that I've learned. I remember I got really sick the last couple weeks that I was working there. Very, very sick, actually. Like, something, I don't know what happened to me, but I got really, really sick. And I remember when I wanted to quit and stuff, I actually said I wanted to quit in a very polite way. Like, I remember like the very last day that I was there, she basically hid in one of the rooms, and she kept calling everyone into the room to talk about me. And I heard afterwards that she was talking about me because she was hurt and upset that I wanted to leave and that I wasn't going to be staying there for a long time. Little did she know that the reason why I left was because of how she was treating me. I wasn't being treated correctly. I wasn't being treated like a person. I wasn't being treated like, you know, an employee, like how the other people there were being treated. And so that's why I left. I left because of her, or else I would honestly have not left. Because again, if I had really enjoyed the people that I worked with, I wouldn't have minded having a job in a position like that, or I wouldn't even have minded the commute, honestly. But I don't think any of those things was worth me being treated that way. And I really do value myself and my mental health, and that's way more important than having to stick with something for money. I was gonna actually finish out the entire month, but she was so upset that she only wanted me to finish out the week there. And so 2 weeks after I had left the job, she had messaged me asking me for help with something. And I said, well, I've deleted all the messages, all the apps that I used for this job, so I'm sorry, but I can't help you. I actually apologized, which I didn't even have to. And she was telling me, she just got really upset with me and started messaging me here and there, and like started just saying these really crappy things to me, and was like, you know what, whatever, thanks for wasting my time, blah, blah, blah. And then I messaged her saying, I told her I was gonna block her. Like, I don't work there anymore. I cannot help you. You can't talk to me this way. I don't work for you anymore. And I just blocked her after that. And I never spoke to her again. It was funny. The way she was talking to me, acting like I still worked for her, was really crazy to me. Like, she really had me, I want to cuss so bad, but I can't. Anyways, yeah, so that happened. And I say this to say that it is okay to quit a job where people are making you feel uncomfortable, where they don't deserve your work. Honestly, it is completely fine, and don't ever feel like you have to continue to stay in that space. for the commenter that wrote that comment to me asking me how I'm so confident right now, and I'm still growing. I feel like I still have a lot more room to be more confident, and that's definitely helping me, but this situation really sped up that experience for me, and it really taught me a lot about LA and how people are and how they can be, and just how people can really smell out a person that doesn't have much confidence, and they can take advantage of that very quickly. It was honestly a good lesson for me to learn, or else I probably still would have been naive about it. You are worth working in a healthy work environment, no matter who you are. You deserve that. Don't feel like you don't, because I didn't think that I deserved it at the time, and I felt like I was just stupid and I couldn't handle these things. Turns out no one else wanted to have the job that I had because they thought it was too hard. So I just decided to bounce, and that was the best decision that I have ever made in my entire life, you guys. Hands down. I'm so happy that I did that. I felt so much happier and more free. I wasn't afraid to look at my phone anymore like I was before. It was just the best experience ever, walking away from that. And I think that in the midst of me leaving, she probably thought that I wasn't gonna be doing anything post that job, because I wasn't really doing my social media at the time anyway. I wasn't really into that, and I was really active afterwards because I knew that I wanted to be successful working for myself, and I still have PTSD at this point in time, ever thinking about me having to work for somebody like that, because that archetype really sucks. Someone that's very selfish and ready to prey on people that they think that are not confident and that are easy to take advantage of. But yeah, I want you guys to kind of write down in the comments if you are going through something at your job right now and you are contemplating on whether it's the right place to stay for you, or if it's, what you want to do in the next few years type of thing. Because I'm curious to know how you guys are kind of handling it right now. Or if you're struggling with it and you just want to put it out there and just kind of have a conversation in, the discussion box below. Okay guys, so I think that is it for this makeup look / talk. Again, I would love it if you guys would kind of still open up a discussion in the comment section if you're going through something like this, and that it is okay, and that it's happening to a lot of different people, not just you. And yeah, this is something that I went through 2 years ago, and I'm a lot better now, but I'm also happy that I did, so that I could learn, how to deal with things like that in the future if that ever happens again. I'm here for you, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, bye guys.